Hi, I'm James, and today I'm taking a look at this, which is the 14-inch version of the Lenovo Yoga 7i Gen 7 2-in-1 convertible laptop. This is Lenovo's latest take on the Yoga 7, which features the Intel Core i5-1240P 12th Gen Alder Lake processor. I've already taken a look at this processor in another video, which I'll put an info card up for, looking at CPU and gaming performance, but today I want to take just a quick look around this laptop. This particular system is in the stone blue colour and was picked up from the Lenovo website for £679 in a special deal they were running the other day. For that we get the i5-1240P, 16 gigs of RAM, and a 512GB SSD, and we'll take a look at some of the other specifications shortly. Looking at the lid, we can see we have our flip around hinges exposed at the back here, Lenovo branding on this side, and Yoga over here in a metallic finish against the matte of the lid. On the underside, we have two speaker vents, with this laptop having a total of 4 speakers and has both Dolby Vision and Atmos support. We also have an air intake along the base here for drawing air in for cooling. Otherwise, screws are exposed on the base and we have rubber feet, but nothing much else of note on the base here. Looking down the sides at the ports, and we have a full HDMI 2.0 port, not as I've seen on many laptops that I've looked at, particularly Dell's recently, HDMI 1.4, and this means we should get proper 4K 60Hz output from this without issue. We also have a pair of USB-C ports. These support charging of the device, DisplayPort output, and they are USB 4 and Thunderbolt 4 ports. That means they should support a minimum of 32 gigabits per second when used in Thunderbolt mode. Lenovo aren't clear on the USB 4 configuration. The minimum this could be for these ports is 10 gigabits. However, hopefully it is a little higher than that, but I don't have a good means of testing it. And like I say, they are ambiguous on that, just stating USB 4.0. We also have a microSD card reader, which is great if you use these in your camera or smartphone. Down the right hand side we have our power button. This is nice because this is a convertible machine. Having the power button on the outside does allow you to use this as a tablet and still have access to the button. When it's on the keyboard, it should often be switched off to prevent it accidentally being depressed when you put the laptop on a surface. We also have a USB 3.2 Gen 1 port, so 5 gigabits per second, and a headphone jack as well. Looking to the back of the laptop, and all we have here, no ports, but a single large vent on the back for the exhaust. And if we shine a light in, what we can see here is that on this side it is actually just moulded in and with an opening, but for symmetry there is no cooler behind. The heatsink is entirely on this right side of the device, or left as we're looking at it. Looking inside at inputs, and we have a standard chiclet style keyboard. I think that Lenovo have done a really nice job with some of these hotkeys. Having the things for insert, print screen, so on is great. And we do also have a function lock, so we can easily swap those to the F keys instead. I tend to operate in that mode, and being able to quickly switch between them without just relying on always pressing that key when you want to change volume or whatever is great. Otherwise, keyboard layout here on this UK English model is really good for my money anyway. We do have proper positioning of the slashes and so on. We also have the full height enter key, and when I've been using this I've really had no issues with the keyboard at all. The keyboard is flanked by a pair of speaker vents for the second pair of speakers that this machine has, and the touchpad has been absolutely fine in operation, uses the standard Windows gestures, blends nicely into the design of the machine with just a slight indent, and is quite a good size for this size of machine, filling up most of the gap below the keyboard towards the base of the machine. The keyboard itself is also backlit with a couple levels of adjustment by pressing function and space together. And there is also the option to press function Q to switch between the 3 power modes of, I believe it is battery saver, intelligent performance and high performance. and these adjust the power consumption and performance of the machine accordingly. Speaking of power, we do also have a pretty large 71 watt hour battery, so while I haven't formally tested it, battery life on this should be pretty good. One thing that is missing on this system, however, is there is no fingerprint reader. This is an option on the Yoga 7i Gen 7, and when you custom build, it is only a £10 option, but this machine did not come optioned with it, pre-built on the site at the very good price I got it from. Instead, it relies just on the infrared Windows Hello camera for facial recognition. For someone like me who likes to run multiple user accounts on the system, that's quite disappointing because I have multiple fingers and can log into different profiles with a fingerprint reader, but I only have one face. So that doesn't always work for me, but can get around that. The screen on this system features a 16:10 aspect ratio, so a little taller than your typical 16:9 panel, and this has a resolution of 2240 by 1400, so a step up above from the 1920 by 1080, so 1080p panels you would often see, both in the fact it has a bit more vertical height and also a higher resolution. This translates to a PPI of around 188 pixels per inch, and this panel has a 300 nit brightness rating and 100% sRGB coverage. Being an IPS type panel, we have good viewing angles with not too much in the way of colour shift or loss of brightness as we tilt the display around. And while there is a OLED option available for this machine, which increases the resolution to 2880 and I believe 1800 in height, this IPS screen with the LCD type should offer better battery life, as it should use less power than the OLED based on what I have seen reported. So while with just 300 nits of brightness this isn't the brightest panel, at the price point that this was, it was still very competitive. If you go for the OLED version, this does increase to 400 nits and 100% DCI P3 colour gamut along with a 90 Hz refresh rate. So if you can find a version with that OLED panel, you may want to take the hit on power and go with that instead, and maybe if you're in a battery conscious mood, reduce the refresh rate as required. Otherwise though, certainly compared to the Dells that I've been using, like my 7415 2-in-1, this is a 20% brighter panel. The extra resolution for doing actual work is really appreciated, but having a 16:10 aspect ratio does mean you will have black borders when viewing 16:9 video content at the tops and bottoms. Obviously, being a 2-in-1 convertible, this is a touchscreen. I believe this supports up to 10 touch points, and you can fold the screen flat, which lifts the base of the machine up as you do so, or you can carry on and fold it round into this sort of propped up mode, or flat to use it as a tablet. Obviously, the weight of these devices doesn't make them as good as an iPad for tablet usage, but it does give you the option. The webcam is located at the top of the screen in the upper bezel, and we do have a privacy shutter with red marking so that we can cover that over. We also have two small openings for the stereo microphone up here as well. The webcam on this unit is a 1080p camera which has support for up to 30 frames per second, and you can see an example of the quality here. One thing which did catch me out is that because F4 without function lock on turns off the microphone, it is very easy to accidentally mute the microphone and not realise it, particularly as if you Alt F4 it still seems to do it even when you'd want to just close something. Taking a quick look at the hardware as it's reported by the machine, and we obviously have our Core i5-1240P processor, and we can see this has the 4 performance cores and 8 efficiency cores, giving a total of 6. Connectivity is provided by an Intel Wi-Fi 6E AX211 Wi-Fi card. So this supports the 6E standard and connected to the UniFi 6 Pro access point in this office, we can see it currently has a link speed of 2.4 gigabits in each direction. Running a quick speed test on my broadband connection here, we can see that actually accessing out to the internet, this is good for up to, it's going to keep rising, so just shy of 800 megabits per second of real world performance. In optimum conditions we can see over 900 megabits on this line, so not quite as quick as if we were running on the wired Ethernet in this room, but a very strong performance and certainly stronger than many people's home access points will deliver. It confirms that we have a PCI Express 4.0 SSD made by Samsung at 512GB as per the system specifications, and while this is PCI Express 4.0, don't expect 7GB per second read speeds here. It is a fraction over what you'd expect from a 3.0 drive, at least in the reads, but this is not a super high performance drive. Being a 512GB drive, you wouldn't expect it right up there, but this is a fairly standard OEM drive and they are probably balancing off power consumption and performance here. But again, this is a cut above, almost double the speed of what I found in the Dell systems that I have looked at recently. Connectivity is provided by an Intel Wi-Fi 6E AX211 Wi-Fi card. So this supports the 6E standard and connected to the UniFi 6 Pro access point in this office, we can see it currently has a link speed of 2.4 gigabits in each direction. Running a quick speed test on my broadband connection here, we can see that actually accessing out to the internet, this is good for up to, it's going to keep rising, so just shy of 800 megabits per second of real world performance. In optimum conditions we can see over 900 megabits on this line, so not quite as quick as if we were running on the wired Ethernet in this room, but a very strong performance and certainly stronger than many people's home access points will deliver. Bluetooth support is Bluetooth version 5.2 as is standard with these cards, and that is really as good as you can expect from any modern laptop. When it comes to performance, we have three options or different power profiles that we can run the machine in. I have done a separate video looking at the machine running in the high performance 25 watt power profile, a little down on the 28 watts that the i5-1240P can utilise, but obviously Lenovo have traded off thermals and battery life against the optimal performance for this processor. Even so, the i5-1240P is a very quick performer. There are some peculiarities where you have that mix of the larger performance cores and the smaller efficiency cores, where you can get some strange performance occasionally. But for the most part, particularly with Windows 11 and the updated scheduler compared to Windows 10, this isn't something that you're commonly going to see as an issue, and does have benefits when it comes to power consumption. Gaming on the Intel Iris Xe graphics can be a bit of a mixed bag. Intel have definitely been making strides and improvements in their game compatibility and performance, but comparing it in my other video to the Ryzen 5 5625U, it does have to be said that you get a more consistently usable or playable performance on the Radeon graphics in that. Of course, if you are buying a laptop primarily for gaming, then really buying something with a more powerful discrete card may be a better option for you. But if you want something which can do occasional or light gaming and are willing to compromise on detail settings, then this is still perfectly usable. So to finish off this first look, I just want to say I hope you found this interesting. I will be doing more with the Yoga 7i Gen 7 in future, but just due to time constraints I wanted to get a quick first impressions video out. If you want to check on the performance of the i5-1240P, then do check out that other video I posted the other day, and let me know any questions or comments you have about this machine in the comments below, because I will be hoping to do a follow-up video once I am back to take another look at this once I've got some more experience with using it. So with that said, do hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see that video when it comes online. Hit like if you found this helpful, and thanks for watching.